Hi, everyone. I'd like to start this space by saying it's going to be another one of those spaces where I'm going to get to say a lot of things before I invite people to come up to speak. And no one is really here right now, so I'm just gonna lay down, the way that I felt today and why it's important for me, kind of going forward. So, believe it or not, now that I'm known for my speaking skills, I'm known for, connecting good people together. I'm known for having very thought provoking discussions. I just would like you to know, I wasn't always like this. I was mostly, you know, when I was younger, just kind of a loner kid, and I wasn't even like depressed or frustrated about it. I was okay with it. I was just a person who liked to just keep to himself and have things to himself and not really open up my mouth that much, believe it or not. When I was in school, most of what I would do was like watch cartoons, play some video games, and kind of daydream. And every single time that I was in class, it was like my physical body was in class, but my mind was always somewhere in a game that I just played or a cartoon that I just saw, or contemplating possibilities of my future, contemplating, and I was kind of living in my head. So I got a lot of flack for my personality kind of being this way, for not wanting to socialize too much, for just wanting to keep to myself and keep to my thoughts and just be happy with that. Until, they said I have attention deficit disorder, whatever you want to call it. You want to call it daydreaming, you want to call it attention deficit disorder, or you want to call it Asperger's. That's your prerogative. But all I knew is that, you know, first of all, the rest of my family, on one side of my family, they weren't like me like this. They weren't exactly as contemplative as I was. They weren't exactly as non talkative as I was. And that. And then on the other side, like in school, what's really important is performance, like how you have to kind of do things. School always wants you in a state of having an assignment, having a book report, having in Western culture, it's always about an activity. You have to be busy. You either have to, be at school, be training, be at work, and even if you don't need to go to work, at least be doing an activity. Or even when you're shopping, kind of like listen to music. But we don't have moments where we're just sitting and we're just thinking. We look down on that. We look down on people who just want to take a little time with no activity or maybe even nothing around them and take a little time to kind of like contemplate. We're not a very contemplative society. We're a very, activity based, busy based society. And I feel as if, since my personality and who I actually was didn't jive with that kind of society, I felt like there was this under the radar discrimination for who I really was. In this society, we place such a high premium on extroverted, gregarious behavior, and we put it on a pedestal, and we put, a lot of extroverts on a pedestal, and, we overlook the people who may seem, in our eyes, that they're shy. But all you need to do with one of these shy people that you think isn't really talking much is just ask them a question and sometimes you'll just be blown away. Yeah. So I guess what I'm trying to say is the premium that we put on this kind of gregarious, extroverted personality is a pretty high one. And, I was made to feel as if there was something not exactly right with me in my younger age of being like introverted and trying to keep to myself and, my room and all of that stuff. So I guess when I got older, I swung the pendulum a little bit in the opposite direction, and I became a little bit more kind of loud, a little more opinionated, whatever you want to call it. But today, when I just sat at work, not thinking about, what's there to do, what am I going to do for an activity, how am I going to do this, how am I going to do that, how am I going to impress someone, how am I going to perform, but I just sat there and I just contemplated on life and the bigger picture and things like that, and ideas and creativity, not even thinking about like being busy or impressing someone or doing something like that. I felt as if, I was in my element. I was finally, and I mean, if I'm being honest, there was nothing wrong with me when I was younger and I didn't talk too much and I kind of kept to myself and I really didn't have anything to say with a subject that didn't interest me because I didn't there was nothing wrong with me back then too, but you would have society would have you believe that, oh, like people have to be extroverted. People have to always have their mouths open, always have to be participating in an activity, always have to like be busy, or else, why aren't they performing? And that is such a stupid, toxic mentality we have in the West. Now, maybe that person who's just not talking, who's just sitting there and thinking a lot, is just as important and just as worthy as a person who can never ever stop talking and is always trying to impress people and always has something to say and all of that. So I guess with that being said, I'll open it up to the rest of the room. For this to make sense, you really have to listen to the beginning of the recording. So yeah, yeah. That means Michael, you can come up if you want. I was just you had to be in the beginning. I was just talking about like I'm known for being a presenter and a host and all of that stuff, but you know, when I was young, I was much more just kept to myself and didn't like talking too much. So I just wanted
Uh,
someone.
Hi, Ariel.
Hi.
I no, I got the gist of it. I got the gist of it. The introvert versus extrovert, and that, well, in a world that we're in, it takes both to tango, if you will. It takes,
Yeah.
uh, I guess, both are necessary, and it's not that one is the greater of the two. It's just
Right.
that's just the way we're made.
Yeah. But it's like the schooling system and sometimes even your own family would have you believe that, oh, like not talking, keeping to themselves, not a team player, has ADHD, probably on the spectrum,
Hmm.
like all this kind of stigma that kind of comes with that. And it's like, you know, it's like people who just don't want to be part of something or just want to kind of like keep to themselves are kind of looked at, right? As like, oh, like are they a snob or something wrong with them, or like, maybe they just maybe they just don't care about the subject that you people are talking about, and maybe that's just okay. I yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense that we lost Troy. Uh,
No, I still
may,
see
it
him.
may,
He's right there. Oh, okay.
oh, okay.
Yeah. No, the
Oh,
only
there
thing
he.
about Troy is that like he just wants to speak so fast, and sometimes you know. But here, let me add him up. There we go. I think that works. Uh, all right. Oh, there was an error adding him. Okay. Well, anyway, yeah. So we place such a high premium on these gregarious, loud kind of like people, and that's not bad. But then, like maybe that shy person does have something to say, but they don't know how to find a way in, or they're just not in. They're not interested in the specific topic that's being discussed. And then like the schooling system or like a family system looks at a person who's not like, let me put it in air quotes, like participating, being all like, oh, like how can you not be participating, it's so important, oh, we got to fix you. And it's like, fuck off. Maybe they're not interested in what you're talking about, they're just being themselves, they're thinking of something important. People are not there for you to judge and fix and force to mold into a personality that they're just not. You know what I mean? And I feel that throughout my schooling years, um, you know, that's what was kind of happening to me. And then I for the longest time I thought to myself, okay, then like it has to be about participation, it has to be about like, you know, all this stuff, and like I should always be active and participate and like find something to do. And it's like, wait a minute, how about no thanks? How about maybe sometimes I don't want to participate, maybe sometimes I don't want to be like the team or have someone look at me or perform or something like that. Like is that like wrong or bad? You know what I mean? It's like, it's interesting. All right. Yeah. Hey, Troy, I can't get you up. Okay. It keeps giving me an error.
I'm up now.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, now I can hear you.
Yeah, it was weird. It's always funky.
Yeah, yeah. It's okay. Now it's better. Okay,
All right.
yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right.
If I can add,
Yeah.
all right. So you're like you're in school, let's say, okay, and you're usually for the most part in a class. Well, depending on the class, you're either more talkative, raise your hand and add to the conversation if the the teacher allows, or you might be more inflective, like introspective. So you're kind of like you're taking in more than you want to participate. But well, for instance, like I don't know if I took a speech class, and of course you have to give speeches, so
Right.
you kind of have to be out there.
Yeah.
Because why would you want to be in the speech class
Right. Right. If you chose
or
it, right? If you
right
chose,
or a debate class? Let's
but
say
some unless they're required, and then
um
people like force themselves to do it because
oh, okay,
it's like a requirement to graduate.
got it.
It's
Okay,
like,
rather
yeah.
than elective. Yeah.
Right, exactly,
Got it.
exactly.
Got it.
And but actually what's funny about me, like where I kind of differ, is that I love, the public speaking aspect more than like being a part of some random conversation, because there's like a certain topic, a certain idea that a certain case that has to be presented, rather than just like small talk and gossip and chit chat, So I'm kind of
But
unique in that way.
yeah. Now, did you take now? There's what do they call that? There's a speakers club or something. What do they call it?
Oh, Toastmasters. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you belong to that?
Yeah, I did. I've done
Oh,
several
cool.
speeches for them actually.
That's
But
that's good. That's gutsy.
yeah, yeah, no, no, like I have no, no stage fright, but I think what made me unique, like before I became the speaker, presenter, host, like I put in the title, was I really didn't care for, I really wanted to keep to myself and just live in my mind. And everybody kind of saw that as a problem. But there's an old adage that says that the quietest people have the loudest minds. So I was just saying, if only they knew kind of what I was thinking instead of just judging me when I'm actually contemplating with my mouth shut and with all these like freaking labels like daydreaming, ADHD, ADD, Asperger, whatever the hell you want to call it, right? So, like I said, our society puts this premium on loudmouths sometimes and not so much on the people who contemplate, the people who think before they talk, the people who just want to like think about things. Because we're such an activity obsessed kind of society, of performance and do your job obsessed society, that it never comes to people's minds that maybe the people who maybe aren't doing the activities and aren't really like yapping all the time, maybe their contemplation is also important. It's also a part of this thing. And we shouldn't try to take that unique part of them away by, having schools that just judge them for it and to tell them like, oh, like part to, this, that, it's a little complicated, but I think I know. I think
Yeah,
you know what I'm trying to get at.
yeah, I yeah, I think I understand. So it's sort of um, like maybe an Einstein or an Edison, Thomas Edison. I got to work on getting this light bulb thing down. So, he's gonna be kind of on the quiet side because he's thinking about how to make it.
Right, and even and like we put so much, and even with that, it's performance, right? Like, oh, but but they're working on creating something, so they can't just be like doing nothing. Oh my god, and it's like, wait a minute though, like what about if they're just contemplating in a philosophical way to for just like better human relationships or just thinking about fascinating things, like that should be
Right.
important too. It's not just like, oh well, as long as they're thinking of a way that eventually has to do with money, then it's appropriate. But we can't just allow people to just exist in their own minds if they're not thinking of producing something. It's like, it's so sick.
Well,
Right.
but I mean, it's like, I mean, invention or productivity can mean, I think, different things to different people. Because, like I said,
Right,
if I can go way out there,
right,
Leonardo da Vinci, he's the tops of. So he must have been sitting there. Leonardo da Vinci must have been sitting there contemplating all kinds of things for all the inventions that he came
right.
up with, and he had to do it quietly within his own mind and not have an
Right.
audience.
Like, would he be said that he has ADHD or he's on the spectrum or
Probably.
all right, exactly, exactly. So with that being said, I'll go to Troy.
Yeah, I just think that like speaking, especially like there's a lot of context to it too. Like it depends upon the people you're around, like how comfortable you are with them. Um, like and also context of like venue. Like if you put me up when you put me up on the like church pulpit or whatever, like to read a passage, like I could barely get through it. When you put me in front of a group of like a group of people to read a passage from a book, I almost melted like right in front of them and stuttered my way through it. But if you put me in a band, somehow I had no butterflies or no nothing. Like it was the funnest time in my life. Like eh, I just think like context matters a lot too. Like for people like when they're
Well,
given the
I
ability to express themselves in
Yeah,
public.
yeah, for sure. The
yeah,
context,
yeah,
all that stuff.
yeah. I get that because you're kind of like you're on the spot. You're the center of attention, and that can make you pretty nervous.
Yeah,
In that it depending on the venue, like you said, the venue, like
But
one
but
might.
what like
Yeah.
for me, it doesn't. I don't care. I'll just go up there and let her rip because I have nothing to hide, and I think I have like a very special message to share with the world. So I'm not even shy about it. I mean, but that's just me though, right? Yeah, I mean, and like what I find that is so interesting is that I'm so happy for social audio that it's not just social media. We're just texting back and forth, and we can hear each other's voices, make it more intimate, make it more human, etc. And but let's get back to the topic of the space, which is I was a very, introverted, keeping to myself person as when I was young. I thought that made me unique and interesting. And I really didn't appreciate the way my family and the schools wanted to mold me into someone I'm not by making me feel shame for being that way. Like that's ridiculous, and every single time they said we know what's best for you, and and all the diagnoses and all the being dragged to parties I never wanted to go to, and all the all sorts of things. So just looking at it from that lens, I mean, today I just sat on a couch at work and didn't even think about like, oh, they're gonna see me doing nothing on the camera, and oh, and my manager's gonna get annoyed, blah blah blah. I just said, wait a minute, like I kind of deserve a rest. I don't even care, and I went back into that mode of just sitting, not opening my mouth, not thinking of not thinking of an activity, and just thinking in general, just being contemplating. And it was like it was so liberating because I like all these things weren't on my mind, like, oh, I better act like I'm busy, I better act like I'm busy or else I'm going to get in trouble. It's like that doesn't come from me. That
Does
comes from years and years of indoctrination of this stupid system that these
right.
folks put together,
I get that. I get that. Now, like when you were in this contemplative kind of uh, state of being today, did um, would that help if you like had paper and pen in front of you and journaled,
I don't know.
or
I
or,
do
or
it sometimes, but I think
Mhm.
like even it's even better without the journaling because I'm just kind of like thinking about things, and I'm
It
kind of like in my thoughts, and I'm happy, and I
right?
it's like a state of like wondering. Like I wonder,
Yeah,
what's going to happen next, and how it's going to happen, and why it's going to happen.
yeah.
and
I get
and
that.
it's nice because you're
Uh,
not, and then you're away from like, oh, I better do something now or else I'm gonna look like I'm not being busy. It's like, fuck
yeah,
that. Like I'm so
yeah.
sick of thinking, like having those thoughts. I think those thoughts are not even my own. They've just been like implanted by a psycho society that just wants us to be like this all the time.
Yeah.
Ariel, did you move a lot as a kid?
Did I move? Yeah, well, I guess you could say like not city to city or state to state, but after my parents got divorced, my mom moved to Bel Air. She lived there for like forever, but my dad kept moving to like different apartments.
Well,
You know,
it's almost like school to school. Did you move school to school?
no, no, I did not move school to school though. It was
Oh, okay.
the same
So you were
school,
Mm.
comfortable with your
but
classmates.
but I hated the school. I thought it was a piece of crap. But
Ah,
Mm.
the middle school, but not the high school.
Was it more so the I mean, was it the teachers, the
Yeah, it was the
curriculum,
teachers. It wasn't the students.
or was
It
it
was
the
it,
students? Right, it wasn't your fellow
no, it
classmates.
wasn't my classmates. It was just the teacher
Yeah,
as being like, "Oh, he
Mm.
doesn't pay attention, and he daydreams, and his head
Yeah,
is all that
right.
stuff." And it's like, hey, I never
Yeah,
wanted to be here, so fuck you
yeah.
guys. Like,
Oh boy.
yeah. If I'm being honest, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like, don't force me to be in a place that I don't want to be, and then tell me that, my
Mm.
behavior should
Well,
be like this and that.
do you think that different classes had a different outcome? I mean, like, were you more like
Yeah. No, like I
satisfied
like the
by
science
different.
class,
Yeah,
maybe that, and the
yeah,
teacher. Like I did like some classes, I just didn't see the point at all. Okay, like
yeah,
history, it happened. We can
yeah.
Google all of
But
that.
but but sometimes it depends on the teacher. The
Yeah,
teacher
it
can
does.
draw a lot
I
out of
had a lot
people.
of like boring, useless teachers, and
Oh
the
yeah.
good ones were really, really few and far between. Most of them were pretty bad. I mean, if I'm being honest. Yeah. So I mean, it's it's this thing where it's like we have this kind of discrimination that flies under the radar when it comes to introverted people, when it comes to people who maybe they don't want to constantly be participating in air quotes, and and then getting judged for it by some douche. Like, it's a different thing, right? I mean, yeah, that's it, and it's like we need to honor people who can contemplate, who want their peace and quiet, who sometimes want to keep to themselves and not constantly think like we have to save these people. There's something wrong. It's so discriminatory. I mean, not to a
Well,
certain race or religion or
yeah.
creed, but just to like people like it's discriminatory against a certain personality type that can exist across races and cultures and religions. You know, that's what I see. Right. It's kind of like the bottom line, you know. And I'm probably gonna keep this record this thing on my phone too, because it's a very important one, because I just sat there and I said, wait a minute, like this, like I just had to this isn't me, this guy who's constantly thinking about like how can I impress people, how can I perform for people, my boss, I'm gonna, I'm gonna be a little good guy and I'm gonna show him like, and I'm like, wait a minute, like shut up, like just telling that part of your mind, like I like I'm this isn't who I am. Like, you know, it's
Well,
it's
you,
not.
you know where it can I can see or understand where something might be problematic if you're in a group with a team and you're working on a problem or a solution to a problem, and there's everybody's discussing stuff, but there's somebody off to the side that's not participating. That's a team player. What's going on? Do you have any thoughts? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah, sure, but like that, if it's a voluntary decision, for sure, like they have a responsibility to their team to participate. But if a lot of people who are dragged into it, I don't buy it, because the people who get dragged into it probably never wanted to be a part of it to begin with, and then they're being told like, "Oh, you're this, you're that." But if they weren't dragged into it and they really wanted it, and then they join and they do nothing, then yeah, that's a problem for sure. But I feel as though a lot of people, they're just dragged along, and they're on like they're just quiet people who want to keep to themselves, but because of these family or school or work relationships, there's always someone coaxing them and coercing them to be part of something that they didn't want. And then getting annoyed at them when they don't show effort, when they never wanted to be a part of it anyway. Like that's, yeah.
So, Ariel, would you wouldn't describe yourself as competitive at all?
I don't like it. Yeah, I guess you
Yeah.
could say that. I mean, I like more like teamwork, working together, and that I don't. I
No, that's
yeah,
fine. Yeah.
yeah,
Do
yeah.
you?
Well, I mean, yeah. I just don't like high stakes competition.
Yeah.
I think it's in bad taste. Yeah,
Do you want to join my fantasy football league then?
yeah. I hate football. I guess it's fake because it's
I
fantasy.
goof. I goof. I'm just goofing on you.
That's funny. Yeah, I don't know. They keep like jumping on each other and stuff. Every like 5 seconds I see a huddle. I see. Like I remember I was watching a football game.
It's actually, yeah, it's really hard to watch.
Right. Yeah, I remember. I remember when I was with a coworker and we were watching football on the big screen TV, and he said it reminds me of Abu Ghraib prison, like when they were all like on top
Whoa!
of.
Wow.
um, like they're all on top of each other. I mean, it's almost it's just Abu Ghraib prison with clothing on. I mean, you know.
With jerseys and numbers. No, no.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, um, but no,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, but I can understand that the concept of what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm grasping it. It's like when you're working with a team or the chemistry's just right, like with you and Asia and Bryce, when the
Right.
chemistry's just right and it's kind of distributed, it's just
Exactly.
it's like magic.
It's like, yeah, it's like a finely, it's like a dance, a really good
Yeah.
one. And I mean, I'm just saying, like, it's funny because at work the chemistry is just an awful mess because the manager is, he gets attitude and he doesn't, you know help the way he should, etc. But I'm glad the radio show is here. It's the opposite of that. But yeah,
Well,
yeah.
what's your type of work? Can I ask?
Oh, selling TVs, speakers.
Selling TV, like what? Like Best Buy?
Kind of, except no computers. Just
Oh,
speak
it's okay. I mean,
television.
I sell clothing, so
Oh, okay. Like Macy's or
no, but
Blooming.
kind of like that.
Oh, okay, got it. Like a mom and pop kind of shop, or.
Yeah, it's mom and pop. I run their website.
Oh, okay, okay, cool, cool.
Mom,
Yeah,
mom and pasta, they're actually the best, though. You know.
you're right. I kind of work at a kind of, well, it's not necessarily mom and pop because they're two brothers and they're both like rich. So I don't know what you call that, but it's
Yeah,
definitely.
that's still mom and pop. I mean,
Oh, okay,
for my business, like
okay,
pop divorced mom, like
right. Yeah,
like, and
yeah.
I still work for pop.
Right, right, right. For sure, for sure. That's funny.
So,
Yeah.
so they're local, though. What it is they're local, pretty much local.
Local, but we have a good name.
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah. It's like we have in this area. It's called like Two Cousins. It's two cousins fish market and things like that. And I think they're literally two cousins. And there's a lot of that though. Unfortunately, there's a lot of them that have been over 100 years old that are starting to go out of business because the kids don't want to, second and third generation don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to do my dad's in jewelry, and I find that boring as hell. So I never wanted to do that.
Yeah, your dad has his own shop.
Yeah, like a little booth, not even a shop. So
Yeah, but like, why would you want to take that over?
yeah, I would not because it's boring and it doesn't impress me at all. It's just like it's very lackluster. I mean, you know. Yeah, yeah. I always just wanted to. Ever since I gave that speech in eighth grade about how crappy the school was, that's when I knew I wanted to be a speaker, presenter, host. On top of there, but before that happened, like I said, I was a very keep to myself, kind of go away. I want to do my own thing kind of guy. But but
Yeah.
yeah.
Curiosity, was that speech well received, or did it? I mean, how
Oh,
did it
that
go up?
no, they stood up and they all clapped.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
there you go.
I
There
mean,
you go.
because I talked about like how the teachers don't have passion for what they're doing. It's very boring. We don't get the help we deserve. We feel as though like nothing ever changes. Everything is the same. Everything is like, and then everyone was like, "Yeah, go Ariel." Like the system sucks. Like you're telling the truth. Like, and it felt great and I'm like, "Oh, okay, so I was born, to speak truth to power." And ever since then, I mean, it's never left my mind. But I also haven't forgotten that beyond that, I was just the guy who wanted to keep to myself, and I was a little shy, and I wasn't really that talkative. And
Did
that part is okay too. Like there wasn't anything wrong with me when I was that person. And to an extent I still am that person,
Yeah.
except it's like I have a message, but my personality is very much like time to time not really like the social bug. I
Yeah.
love public speaking and I love hosting and I love presenting, but then once that's over, I don't want to go to the bar with everybody because I don't care
Yeah.
about,
Yeah.
like, like it's
Well,
different, right?
did you ever think about, like, two things I'm going to mention, because I know you're doing one, right? I mean, I know, matter of fact, it's going to be on tonight, the PKN.
Yeah,
So did you
WPK.
ever think about doing like your own radio show, like maybe?
I had a YouTube page.
Uh-huh.
Did I ever send it to you?
Yeah.
Called Revolutionary Thinking.
Oh yeah, I think I remember you mentioning that. Yeah.
Right,
So that's kind of like a DJ, not a DJ, but an actual radio gig, kind of.
right,
Yeah,
right.
or a
So
podcast, whatever you want to
I
call it.
mean, so what? Yeah, like whatever you want to
And
call it. I mean,
or did you ever think about getting into politics and running for office?
uh, well, in a year almost, in a couple of days, I'll be eligible to run for president.
There you go.
But
Go
I'll be
for it.
Run for president, Ariel. Like
Please do it.
I'll be 35 years old. So
I'll give you
yeah.
$10.
Right. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Well. Anyway. Just
Yeah.
jokes aside. Yeah. Like I wouldn't mind any
Yeah.
public facing anything.
Mhm.
I would be happy with. You see, because there's a difference between having a message and wanting to be public facing, and getting and rallying people together, and
Yeah.
wanting to go to like a bar and just like drink or go shop with someone. It's very different, and everybody thinks it's the same thing. It's not the same thing,
Right.
you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but no, but I'm happy. I'm happy with the part that wants to keep to myself and that wants
Mhm.
to contemplate and
Yeah.
that sometimes doesn't want people around, and the part that wants to be public facing and giving a speech. So
Mm.
everybody kept saying, "Oh, well, if you want to be this great speaker, you're also going to want to like be a little bit more of like a sociable guy." I'll put that in air quotes. But then when I started being like this sociable guy, I'm just going to be honest, I didn't like it. I just want
Uh,
to be the speaker. I want to be the the
yeah.
the, the people person who inspires. But that doesn't also mean that sometimes I want to be too social too. So you
Mm.
see, there's
Well,
some there.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm 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 trying to understand the context. You mean people were like were trying to force you into being
I
sociable?
I guess it was like, like I said, I don't like loud parties. I don't like loud music. I don't like live concerts or anything like that. But it was like, oh, I kept to myself on the playground, or I never wanted to go to like a party that my family was having because I
Okay. Yeah.
going,
So
you
you're
know.
happy. You're happy being the moderator, like you're
Yeah, I'm
doing.
happy being the moderator. I'm happy being the presenter. I'm happy being the host. But I'm not happy in like in the middle of a crowd of like screaming people. I'm
Right.
very angry there, if that makes any sense. You know?
Right. In other words,
Yeah.
you wouldn't want to go to a concert with 10 or 20 of your buddies.
Right, exactly. But would I want to
Yeah.
give a speech in front of 10, 20 of my buddies? You betcha. Like,
Yeah.
I would do that, but not that those other
Yeah.
kind of like strictly social,
Yeah.
strictly what people call like they wanted like fun thing. And
Yeah.
that's the part that people like scratch their heads. It's like, oh, well, you like presenting and you
I.
like being in front of
Yeah.
people and you like hosting, so why do you not want to like go to the
Mm,
party? And I'm like,
yeah.
because it's not the same.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
it's not.
it's odd that you should say that. About like being around family, not so much friends, but family. Sometimes my family gets together and I don't show up or I don't go,
Right.
and I hear about it.
And
But
then sometimes you hear how crazy it was too, and it's like, oh
oh
well, I
yeah, Oh
And it's like,
yeah,
Yeah.
well, it looks like I made the right decision,
yeah.
although
Oh yeah,
they
yeah.
were trying
Because
to guilt me into
you know
doing it.
somebody said one word wrong, and then the next thing
Right.
everybody
And
like,
then you also get it like where you say like, "Oh no, not this time." They're trying to like guilt you or coax you into coming like, "Oh,
yeah,
why
yeah,
not? Why
yeah.
not? Why
Yeah.
not?"
Well, that might depend though. Like, how close are you guys to your families?
Oh yeah,
Well,
I have a pretty tight knit
yeah,
one.
we're fairly close. I mean,
Yeah.
physically we're close. You know, like not even miles away, so to speak. So it's I mean, geographically, let's put it that way. Geographically, pretty close, and over the years we've been tight knit. It's because we are a big family. The generation is
So y'all get that
unfortunate.
pressure. That
What's
pressure
that?
though. Y'all
Yeah,
get that
yeah.
pressure. I don't get that pressure. My family's on the East Coast, so
Ah,
I don't have
Oh,
to worry
where are
about
you?
that.
California, like me, or
Yeah, I'm in LA.
oh, like me? Oh yeah, yeah. I think I said that before. Yeah. So my family's all here though. They're all yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, it's just and then every single time they say like, "Well, didn't you have fun?" I'm like, "No." Like it was actually kind of annoying, but whatever, like
Well, at least you don't get your mom trying to make you play